Well, a topic near and dear to my own heart. And I think there are two principles, I think, to keep in mind with high-performance CPR if you think of the NASCAR crew team approaching the problem. The first is individual skills. That means the performer of CPR being aware of rate, depth, recoil, and pauses. The second is the group skills, and that's the choreography of how switchovers occur every 2 minutes. And both of those are critical because you can have an individual who does stellar tire changing, but a crew that can't deal with the car, right? And so high-performance CPR is integrating individual skills and coordinating that with the crew as a whole. And part of that means pre-assigned tasks before the crew even comes on scene. Who is going to do what and who is going to take charge of what? The basic principle we take in Seattle-King County is that BLS owns CPR. They are the CPR machine throughout the entire resuscitation. When ALS comes on scene, CPR is ongoing because it's owned by BLS. Secondly, BLS owns timing, meaning an individual in BLS is the assigned timekeeper. You will find that keeping the 2-minute rigid time control throughout a resuscitation keeps things organized. It helps people recognize a 2-minute timer is coming up. We have to make a decision about what we're going to do. And when that doesn't happen, the resuscitation organization falls apart. So my experience in reviewing the resuscitations is when BLS says 1 minute to the next rhythm analysis, 30 seconds to the next rhythm analysis, charge the defibrillator, things start moving along very, very quickly and very smoothly that way. So that being the idea, individual skills, choreography, and BLS ownership of CPR with assigned tasks throughout, I think would be the key tips that I would say keep in mind as you watch this demonstration as to how that gets orchestrated.
Thank you, Peter. Just to give you a little bit of background, in New Zealand we have 2 ambulance services, we have 1 fire service, and we have 2 universities producing a paramedic degree. So we thought that it would be silly for us all to be doing something slightly different. So we've got the 2 ambulance services, the fire service and the 2 universities around the table to develop one single approach to high performance CPR throughout New Zealand, so that in the future, it didn't matter which service you were in or which university you had come through, your concept of what high performance CPR meant would mean the same. Because our goal in New Zealand is to get 1 fire crew and 2 ambulance crews to every cardiac arrest where we can. That's our goal. It doesn't always happen, but that is our goal. So we do have a team who are going to demonstrate our this is our provisional. So we haven't yet rolled out high performance CPR in New Zealand, and we are still discussing with those groups around the table exactly what the terminology is, exactly what our approach is, and we're drilling this. We're getting together regularly and we're drilling it, and every time we drill it, we modify it a little bit. And our goal is to have a final product in approximately 6 months' time, which is ready to roll out across all of New Zealand. So I do want to point out we are not where we want to be with high performance CPR yet. This is just a demonstration, and I've said to the team it's absolutely okay to make some mistakes because we're not yet drilled in a way that we're confident we can do it the same every single time. And today we're only going to have 4 people, so we haven't got a fire crew here today. So we're not doing it with the usual crew we would be doing it with, and we're going to demonstrate it as if a first double crew turn up and then a second double crew turn up approximately 4 minutes later, which would be about what would commonly happen in New Zealand if 2 ambulances were the first arriving crews. We spent a lot of time thinking about hip placement and people placement, and obviously this is in an ideal setting. Just to recap, one of the first decisions they made when they came in is, do we have adequate space? So if we haven't got adequate space, that's the time to move. And at that point we need to move. We will just move the patient and then start chest compressions. And then the next decision point is this high performance CPR? For example, if this is drowning or some other form of cardiac arrest, particularly those that are secondary to respiratory arrest, we're going to do something different. We currently have standardised equipment placement, so everyone knows if I'm carrying the defibrillator, it's going at the left shoulder. As you can see, we've put a metronome on early. Currently our metronome is set to 100, but all of our staff naturally fall into 100 to 10. And we find turning the metronome on the phone with a gloved hand is really hard. So we're looking to change the metronome in our defibrillators to 110 a minute. As you can see, we charge with hands on. We have a focus of minimising the amount of talking, so ideally only the team leader is talking and everyone else, as much as possible, is not talking. We, in the first couple of minutes, don't prioritise airway or ventilation at all. And we've made a decision early on to place a laryngeal mask airway rather than an oropharyngeal airway. And we've done that on the basis that we think it's almost as fast to place as an oropharyngeal airway. And then once a laryngeal mask airway is in place, we do continual chest compressions. We ventilate at a low rate, 8 to 10 a minute. We're currently looking at a device which will help crews do that because it's very easy to ventilate at a high rate. And we teach, the term is the princess squeeze. The princess squeeze is just a very small squeeze of the bag and not a big squeeze of the bag. We're just looking for 400 mils or so of tidal volume. We will then place an endotracheal tube sometime. Now this was placed quite quickly. I would say in most of our cardiac arrests we would not be placing an endotracheal tube as quickly. And we will often not be placing an endotracheal tube until about 10 or more minutes into the cardiac arrest, but it must be placed with chest compressions in place. So we do not pause chest compressions to place an endotracheal tube. And as you can see, we have de-emphasised IV access. IV access is going to be gained and drugs are going to be given, but it's right down our priority tree. We're still modifying this. I'm not confident this is the final product, but we're still modifying this, and our goal is to do this ideally with a team of 8, not with a team of 4. And we would have, obviously with a team of 8, the team leader would be actually standing at the foot of the patient with our checklist and actually not touching anything to do with the patient.